Welcome back to the Meeple Marathon. Today we're going to be unboxing Anachrony Essential Edition along with Anachrony Fractures in Time. So Anachrony is one of the games that I've always had on my radar because I've heard that it has an incredible solo AI system. It's a very thinky but well thought out, managed Euro style game, worker placement style game. And it has, a great theme, and it really just, it constantly was appearing on other people's top 10s, top 20s, and so on and so forth for various categories. So I knew it was always a game that I was interested in trying, and when I started looking at it, I, would pick up the Essential Edition at my local game store, and it says 2 to 4 players on it, but I'm like, wait a minute, people have been playing solo with what appears to be very official solo parts to it, and what I came to realize was that the original Anachrony, the original Kickstarter, came with the base game plus several expansions, along with the Chronobot, which was the solo AI and all of the board and the materials that you needed to run solo. Well, then later on down the road, I guess at some point they realized they were going to continue taking it further with additional expansions, and they wanted to change their solo AI. So for some reason, I don't know why, they came out with the Essential Edition. And it's interesting because if you purchase Viticulture, the Essential Edition, you are getting the original Viticulture game plus all the things that they felt were essential to really enjoy the game. Whereas what Mind Clash Games has done is actually reduced the game to just the essentials. So Essential Edition still holds true, but what happened was, unfortunately, unless you were willing to print and play or use like a web-based application, you couldn't, play Anachrony solo right out of the box. Well, along comes Fractures in Time, which was recently, at the beginning of this year, was being delivered to Kickstarter backers. And this has the updated solo Chronobot 2.0, I think, and Chronosaurus. So it's actually two different ones. At some point, I might go back and print and play the original Chronobot, just to see what it was like. Possibly, I'm wondering how much of the materials I can use out of this box, and maybe just print out a board or something like that. But let's just, so we're going to take a look at both of these today, because I picked them both up at the same time, because my plans are to play this solo. So here is the Anachrony Essential Edition. What appears to be really nice is that they have added in an upgrade or two on here, mainly being the resource custom water drops and resource cubes. The original game, unless you got the Kickstarter upgrades, these were just cardboard pieces, cardboard chits. So then the custom dice. What obviously you're not seeing, which a lot of people rave about, are the exosuit miniatures, which all they really do is take your workers, and if you go out into the city, like outside of your own little safe zone, you have to take an exosuit. So even if you have, say, 10 workers, but you only have 4 exosuits you've powered up for that round, you can only go out in the city and do 4 actions. Everything else has to be done on your board. Obviously, I'm not going to get into gameplay elements and things like that in this video, but we will certainly in a future video. What is interesting about this one, and the theme is loosely there, it might come out more when I actually play it, but from the playthroughs I've seen, essentially there you have this time travel board where they have discovered time travel, and they have realized that what caused this catastrophic event to break everybody up into 4 factions and surviving for their lives actually happened because of a meteor strike that happens in the future and pass through like a rift in time. And so then they discover these rifts and allows them to time travel, but they also, it's almost like knowing when doomsday is. That's kind of what they have here. They know when this meteor is going to strike, And so what's another interesting thing about this game is that it plays out very, regular paced until Doomsday strikes, and then the speed at which the game ends definitely ramps up on you. So hopefully at that point you are able to have much more efficient turns, because the turns are going to be fast, and spots are going to be reduced, things like that. So let's, however, take a look at Fractures of Time, which again is what you kind of need to in order to play this solo. And from what I've heard, this is by far the best expansion. So what we have here are essentially, where is it, reworked solo mode, the Chronossus, and there's also the Chronosaurus or something like that. I guess it doesn't mention here, but there should be 2 solo AIs in here. But there's also some additional modules, variable anomalies module, new location to add to the board, along with the new action type, the blink action, which I believe says use your flux cores to move exosuits on the board to different action spaces, but beware of the glitches. So essentially, I purchased this box for the solo mode, but we'll see how well the other things play out. And there's also 6 miniatures in this box. Now these say Paladin miniatures included. They don't say exosuits. So we'll see. What would really be really nice is if these were actual exosuits that I could drop my little people in. And then I would have 6, which is all you really need if you're playing solo. You don't need this set of 24 that you can get for, I think, $40. All you really need is 6 if you're going to be playing solo. Technically 12 if you wanted to give the AI their own exosuits as well, but yeah, I can use a cardboard chip for all I care. But so I'm not quite sure what the Paladin miniature is used for. Maybe this is for the solo AI and I don't get to use it, but we'll see. So let's spread this out, and we're going to take a look at the Essential Edition now that I'm done rambling, and then we'll take a look at Fractures in Time. Alright, so here we have the Essential Edition rulebook. It's decently thick here. We are, well, there's not page numbers. No, there is. 25, 26, about 28 pages if you include the back. But this, the last 10 or so pages is, no, that's more like last 6 pages, are an appendix. So a very detailed appendix covering basically what appears to be every single piece in the game. And then a little push on the expansions and things like that. And then let's see at the beginning here. Here is everything you get in the box. So lots of cardboard. But what's really nice is you have 4 different player boards. Each one has asynchronous powers. And then you have double-sided path boards. So you can take your asynchronous faction and then decide which kind of path within that faction you want to play. And then on top of that, each faction has 2 different leaders which have asynchronous powers even from each other. So definitely a lot of variety in the gameplay, which I really appreciate. Here is what the exosuits look like if you don't have the miniature set. So it appears to just be a cardboard chit that you place your worker on top of. Alright, then we have a story so far. I think this is basically telling you about like discovering that the meteor is going to hit and gaining new technology from the future. Here we have general setup, player setup, game overview, kind of round structure, and then yeah, so we're really only talking about 13-14 pages of actual instructions. Now there is a lot of words in here. This is a pretty big book, but there's also lots of pictures. They seem pretty clear. Iconography seems pretty clear. What's nice is on the back here they have a huge icons explained, which is nice. So all right, there's the rule book. Let's see what else we got here. We have some custom dice. Now, this is a Euro game. For the most part, you know exactly what you're going to get. There is the dice are used when you try and discover a breakthrough in science, and you actually get to set one of them. You can see that they are completely unique dice. One of them has these various symbols on them, and the other one has shapes on them. And so there's actually 3 different shapes, and then I think 6 different symbols, and you're trying to make sets. So if you know that you just need a circle, then you could go ahead and set this die to a circle, and then you're going to get a random symbol. Or if you need a specific symbol and you don't care about the shape, so there's really hardly any randomness to this. Also, this one has to do with time travel. I know that when you time travel, you risk gaining paradoxes, and you have to roll this one. Obviously, you're looking for the blank side, and the last thing you're looking for is the double side. You can see that there is a double triangles there. I think if you get like 3 paradoxes, you get an anomaly or a glitch or something like that. All right, so we have some resource cubes here. These are pretty standard. Remind me of Terraforming Mars, or It's a Wonderful World. Your standard little clear plastic cubes in 4 different colors. And then we have some water droplets, which there's not very many here. I would have thought there would be more, but I do believe that the darker ones are either 2 or 3, and then the lighter ones are single. But I guess water is a very tight resource in this game, especially in a 4-player game. All right. A random lone baggie. Okay, a whole bunch of other baggies. And then we have some standees. Okay. This appears to be probably some faction specific cards. These might be, I guess we can go ahead and open these. These might be the leaders. Yep, okay. So here is, I'm not 100% sure what all these symbols mean. I know this is like representing where you charge up your exosuit. So, Patron Valerian. Each of these guys has a unique ability. Here we're going through, there is a male and a female, but again, even between the males and the females, they are very different. So you could easily play this game 8 times just going through the various leaders. And these are player reference sheets, I'm almost certain. Okay. This appears to be a score pad, which is always nice to have, especially on these complicated Euros and keeping track of your score at the end. All right, and then, wow, this is all all together. What's the word? Shrink wrapped. It's all shrink wrapped together. So let's take a look at some of these cards here. Not 100% sure what these are, to be honest with you. Okay, I know what these are. I don't know what the white ones are, and I know what these are. So, whole bunch of different symbols here. I believe these are like victory conditions, or you have to escape. You have to have escaped. But anyways, getting back, let's talk about what I do know. I'm looking for these. It's weird that these are all mixed up like this, because obviously these are going to be parsed out. But each round, you always have your resources and your workers that you accumulate. You could lose some come back in need of rest, some come back fully ready to go, but each round it varies which workers are going to be available to recruit. So you can see this round is very different from this round. Here you're getting 2 scientists and 2 engineers and nobody else. Here you would get access to 2 scientists, 1 assistant, and 1 genius. So each round you're flipping over one of these. You're also flipping over one of these, which tells you what resources are able to be mined. So you can send your exosuit out. You know, for example, this one here, no purples, but a blue. Here, there's no blues. So again, it's this kind of stuff that really helps change the game up. From one play to the next. That's what I don't really like about games like, say, Agricola, when you are, or Fields of Arle, when you're playing solo, is that when there's nobody else out there competing for your spots, then you really could play the exact same way every time. I like when there's some differences introduced into the game. So, all right, there's a little hole here, so I'm going to go ahead and tear this open instead of trying to yank it out of here. I guess it's nice that they shrink wrapped all of this. Okay. So here are your various faction boards. Again, this is your starting setup, and then you place your leader on top of here. So you can see here like 4 water or 3 water. The resources are different. The number of power cores you get, the number who your starting people are, and even on the back side here, is it different? No, it appears to be the same. 2-2-1, 2-2-1. Okay, so it is the same. Your starting setup is the same depending on your path. Let's look at this is what needs to happen, or this is your bonuses you get if you evacuate after the meteor strike. So let's see if these are different. Yes. Okay, so these are different. So your setup is the same for each faction, but your outcomes, if you escape with your faction, are different. So again, you can play with the A side or the B side. All right. This is basically the board that just kind of acts as scenery until the meteor strikes. You flip this over, and then this tells you, I guess ranks you in what order you have escaped. I'm guessing that might give you different bonus points for various things. I guess this is telling you that anybody can escape. Not really sure. But again, after the meteor strikes, you flip this over, you can see that it blew up right in the middle of these guys' head and has created devastation. All right, so this appears to be the player board. Now you can see here real quick, I'm going to show you, this is the 2-player board and the 3-player board. So the back side is going to look almost identical. We flip it over here. There's just a few more spaces if you're playing 4-player. So, all right, so that covers everything. So again, here, this is the kind of the last city in the apocalypse, and this allows you to like gain water and trade with the nomads. This allows you to do scientific research. This allows you to recruit. You know, this is where, remember I flipped those cards over, this is where you're going to be placing those people into this area right here, and they give you like recruit bonuses. This is where those die go. You know, so when you do scientific research, you roll the die. And then this is where you go to build stuff. Obviously, if you are later on and going, if you're going to go here early, you don't have to pay anything. As you go down, you have to pay water, which is, as we noticed, a very critical resource. And then over here is where you go to mine. So this is where those 4 items that came up on the 4 colored cubes would be placed right here. And it doesn't cost you anything because technically if you go here, you're going to get a blue plus any one of these of your choice. Here, if you go, you get a gold plus any one of these of your choice, so on and so forth. And then the last spots up here are essentially give you the ability to pick. They're kind of like these wild spaces, and they cover all of these, but obviously you're going to have to pay. But also, if you go here, you get to place your flag here and become the first player. So, but again, you're paying premium to go here. So that is kind of the main board. And then these are player boards. So again, there's 4 boards. times 4 factions. But again, each faction has a side and a B side. So there are differences, I'm assuming. Yeah, there's differences in how you charge up your exosuits. Is there a difference in how you pay for your buildings? No, those appear to be the same. So really it just appears to be this setup here that is different. So again, you are placing your exosuits out each turn. See, what's interesting is that it appears you don't have to pay anything if you're this faction to put 3 out, but here you can only put 2 out for free, and then you're having to pay some stuff. So here you're having to pay a power core. When you see the circle underneath and where it looks like there's a hole it could drop into, that's their payment symbol. So whenever you have to pay something versus gain something, you can see all of these have the empty hole at the bottom. That is you knowing you have to pay to take that action. So that is interesting that if you're playing with this faction, you actually get more free spots. And then you can see if you don't use an exosuit, you're actually going to gain like a water. I'm not quite sure what the 3 times is, but okay, but yeah, essentially you are charging up your exosuits here at the beginning of each round. That's what you have access to go out into the city. As you construct buildings, they're going to go here, so you can have 3 of each type, and your buildings are going to give you spots to send your workers to without having to send them in an exosuit. And your workers will either be here where they're exhausted and here where they're ready to go. Now, to get them from here to here, you can either pay a certain amount of water depending on where you are on this track, or you can force them, which I think pushes your morale track backwards. You can see you have to get all the way up here to get positive VP for the end of the game. So that's just a very quick breakdown on the board, but these are really nice boards. The artwork is very unique. Here, let's just cover through all of them here. This one's very, I guess this is the water. This one reminds me of like the big huge container ships on the water. This one is very industrial. Let's see what else we got here. Alright, this one is this must be the Path of Harmony. This one's very green and harmonious, very peaceful. And then this one is, I believe they're like up in the air. So, yeah, floating cities and things like that. Alright, and then we've got a whole bunch, literally the rest of this box is all cardboard. So, let's see. So there really was not many cards in this game. It's a whole lot of cardboard. Alright, so these here are special constructions you can do, which give you lots of victory points, but cost a lot of money, and these will only be revealed as you push your way down the time track. So you can see here is 2 of the time track pieces. The other side, I'm pretty sure, is just blank. So again, different ways you can play. I guess you could call them modules. And here are just some workers. You know, all the engineers look the same: scientists, geniuses, and assistants. Here's an example of some of the buildings where placing a worker there allows you to like push back your focus on the time track. Here you can get it for free. Here you have to use a scientist and pay 1 titanium. Things like that. So I'm not going to go into as much detail on all of these. Here's like faction specific markers. These are going to go out after the meteor strikes. They're going to give you additional bonuses where you put your mechs, but if we flip these over, you can see that they created so you cannot use those spaces after someone uses them. So again, like I said, everything ramps up in intensity once the meteor strikes. So this is an exosuit. Essentially, you would take that worker and fit them on there. not nearly as thematic as the miniatures. So there's that. All right. Again, just more special buildings, more time tracks, more workers, different types of buildings. We're probably just going to be seeing a lot of the same stuff here. More faction-specific tokens, more exosuits. I do like that all of the buildings and constructions are all, even these especially, these easily could have been card stock, and would probably feel much cheaper while you play. Here's a whole bunch of victory point tiles, more buildings, 2 blank ones. I guess you could create your own if you really wanted to. I'll have to look that up. I wonder if there are some on BGG. Here's more victory point markers, more buildings. Here is where the meteor strikes and the time track. I believe these are your flags to represent who is first player gets to put their flag up there, which is also why we have these few standees. And that is it, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, so that is 1 -3 point marker, which I believe comes from having an anomaly. All right, so that is everything in the Essential Edition. Let's clean this all up and take a look at Fractures in Time. All right, so here we have the Fractures in Time box, which is roughly the size as the main box. This is going to be an interesting storage solution as of right now. I don't think there is any way for me to get all of this content into that one main box. It's not very deep. They do, as when they did the Kickstarter Fractures of Time, they had what they call the Infinity Box, which is a much larger box, store everything in one box type of storage solution in it. So we might be checking that out here in the future. All right, so just some baggies again. Okay, two standees. This was not a random baggie, but then again, one random baggie. I don't get it. I don't understand. All right, so 2 more, basically a standard D6, and then another very unique die. Not sure what those are for. All right, so let's take a look at these bad boys first, because these are actually very exciting. I just peeked at these a second ago, and they are what I think they are. So these are essentially exosuit miniatures, and really all that you need to know for them is that they have this slot in the top, and the slot is where you drop your worker into, so you can still see the symbol of the worker, but essentially they're hidden inside. So this is where everybody says is one of the must-have add-ons for a game is the exosuit miniatures for Anachrony. So I have 6 now, and we'll see how I feel about this. Maybe we'll see if I can find anybody to play with, but for the most part I really like that right now I have 6. I could care less whether the solo AI gets some. So boom, there's my 6, and if I can get away with never having to buy 24 miniatures, that would make me quite happy. All right, so we have a whole bunch of stuff all in typical Mind Clash fashion here. Everything is shrinked up together. All right. So I believe that this expansion does come with a new faction. So again, don't know what this is for, but it's got an A and a B side. But here is the 5th faction, Path of Unity. I'm not sure whether this allows you to play. No, it still says 1 to 4 players. So this is not a 5th player expansion. It just gives you a 5th unique faction to play with, the purple faction. All right, and then we've got, looks like a whole bunch more cards. I'm not going to open those up because we just looked at some of those. All right, then we have these guys here. I'm not really sure what these are for because there were not any cards that were this size in the Essential Edition box. You know what I'm not seeing here, I'm wondering must be on the bottom, is a instruction manual. On the first box, the instruction manual is right on top. Let me see if I can reach under here, and yes, it is. It's in plastic, which is interesting. I guess they are wanting to protect it. Maybe they felt like the Essential Editions ones were getting beat up. Alright, so this will help explain some stuff here. Alright, here's the rule book, and here is what we were looking for. Okay, so let's just, some additional iconography, but let's take a look at the components so I can have a better understanding of what I'm talking about here. Okay, fractured device upgrade tiles. Okay, so that's what that one board is. I guess that was the one board for my one new faction, fractured device mini board. Glitch markers, technology cards, the Valley board. Man, there is a lot of stuff added here. I am really excited about this. New end game condition card, new variable anomalies, anomaly remover tiles, 9 new collapsing capital tiles, 8 replacement buildings, 8 new buildings, 4 interlocking buildings. Interesting. 4 new leader cards for the original paths. Okay. 1 more scoring pad. So this is all the new path unity stuff. So it actually comes with 3 leaders. So then they gave you 3 more. I mean, basically gave it so you can have 3 leaders now for every faction. That's cool. All right. And so setup changes, player setup. Ooh, this is a lot to take in here. All right, but let's just take a quick look here at the Chronobot and Chronossus. So 2 different solo boards, our double-sided component, solo banner, 8 solo warp tiles, 6 hex-shaped exosuit markers. So yeah, you're gonna get an exosuit marker. You're not gonna get an exosuit, buddy. Yeah, module support. Okay, components that are only added to the game with certain modules are marked with respective icons. So this does appear to be nice because I believe the original Chronobot was not compatible with any of the modules. And so if I can actually make use of all this stuff that is coming in this expansion, again, I'm going to be very excited for what's ahead here. So, all right, so here is matching all the other 4 factions, a whole nother board. Again, I apologize, I'm not as well versed in the Fractures of Time expansion because I had not been studying it until someone told me, no, you need Fractures in Time to play solo without print and play. So it just so happened, and I also was hearing that Fractures of Time was pretty hard to get your hands on unless you backed it on the Kickstarter. So when my local game store had it, I jumped at the opportunity. So here are the new faction players. Not sure what else is in there. Update sticker sheet. This update sticker sheet is for the base box edition of Anachrony. If you own the Essential Edition, you don't need these stickers. Okay. So that's good. I don't mind having to put stickers on, but I tend to end up not using them. Okay. New scoring pad. I'm assuming that there's probably some stuff added in here that I will need the adjusted scoring pad. And we have this Valley board that is the same on both sides other than 2 to 3 players. So this guy makes me think of what was that PlayStation game with the big giant white moon floating over top of your head? It was very popular and I can't remember the name of it now. Anyways, this appears to just be additional places to send your exosuits out in the valley. Very purple. This is a very purple expansion. All right, and then again, a whole large thing of shrink wrapped cardboard. So we have now 5 of these unique player boards, again with an A and a B side. I mean, it's just incredible. I wonder if there's anybody out there who's actually gone through and played each combination out there. That would probably have to be hundreds and hundreds of playthroughs. Okay, so here is Chronobot and Chronossus. Not sure which one's which. Neither one of them really look like a dinosaur. Okay, there's a B side for one of them. And this is interesting. This is a additional time marker with the fractures of time symbol on the back of it. Okay, I wonder if you can add a whole round. Alright, here is more of what we've kind of already looked at. These are going to be the exosuits for the AI for certain. It looks like they're separate. I wonder if you can play against them at the same time. Now that would be cool. Scythe, you can do that. You can play against multiple solo bots at the same time. Now, unfortunately, to do that, you have to print out a separate, you have to do a print and play of like the solo AI deck that comes in the game, but you would need a separate deck for each solo AI bot you want to play against. So it's not quite the same. All right, this is the, okay, yeah, so let's take a look at these. This is the Faction of Unity player board. We've already talked about this, but this is what I was gonna have to print and play. This is what I've been waiting for. What's very unique about this solo AI system, and I'm going to flip it over because I'm not sure what the other one, but this one definitely resembles what the original one was. You can see here there are numbers 3, 4, 2, 5, and is there no 6? There's no 1 either. Interesting. Okay. So obviously we'll have some rules somewhere, but the original one had 1 through 6. You'd roll a 6-sided die, and you would start your token on these numbers, and then you would just follow the arrows. And so, for example, the 3 here would move and it would do this action, then move. It would do this action, then move. It would do and then it would just circle back around. The 5 would push up here and go tick, 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 tick. Same with the 2 and the 4. In the original one, the 5 was right here, and had like a very easy to handle thing, didn't hurt you very much, but then it ticked in, and 4 of these things circle around in this loop, and there was a 6th one that just bounced back and forth with some nasty ones. What's really interesting about that is that you never really know, because it's a roll of a 6-sided die, what the solo AI is going to do, and that is nice. Randomness in the solo AI with some sort of intelligence, which this one does. It's never going to do, it does these things kind of in order, which makes sense, and it does these things in order, which makes sense. So that's where its intelligence comes in, but the randomness comes from the roll of a die. So I just thought that was a very unique way to run the solo AI, which I think is why a lot of people praise the game. Now this is I'm wondering if this is the Chronosaurus side, because this one is much more, there's a lot of different arrows on this one. Again, we still don't have a 1 or a 6, so I'm going to come back to this die here, this must be the die that you are supposed to use. There is a 5, a 2, and then there's 2 3s and 2 4s. So that's it. I don't know why they figured that was better, but this was one of the changes they made in getting rid of the original Chronobot. So you are more likely to hit on a 3 and a 4, which means this track is going to get a lot more action than you would think. But then 5s and 2s are just 1/6 chance. So that's interesting. Again, we are going to have to dive into the rules of this guy especially, but be looking for that here on the channel coming up. Also, we'll see what we can do for a storage solution. Obviously, I am not about to go out and buy any additional bling or all-inclusive boxes until I've played the game. So we're going to see what we can come up with to get this all stored up. What I might try and do is see what materials I only need for like the base game, and put those in the Essential Edition box, which for me would include the Solo AI materials, and then put everything else in this box. We'll see. But again, these are not very big boxes. They're kind of tall, but they're not very deep. If you enjoyed this video, please consider giving it a thumbs up. And if you'd like to be involved in more Anachrony footage in the future, please consider subscribing to the channel and hit that bell icon so you can be notified when I do post more videos on YouTube. Thanks for sticking with me. I know this was a long one, but I did want to cover them all together. So hopefully you guys got something out of this. Once again, thanks for watching. Have a great day.